Thank you. You will now be placed into conference. To mute your line, press *6. To unmute, press #6.
The agenda here real quick, and we'll go over a few housekeeping items. So first things first, if you haven't done so already, if you would mute your line on your end, so that way we don't pick up the background noise or any interference from your side. This is being recorded, so and also to make sure that you mute the sound on your computer if need be as well. Sometimes that can pick up interference or an echo. Can everyone see the agenda? All right, very good. Raise your hand if you can. Just kidding. All right. So since this is being recorded, you will be able to go back and review it on our website at a later date. So if you have individuals within your business or organization that were not able to make it today, they can go back and review this at a later date. This is going to be the first of 2 sessions. And so if you can't make the second session as well, because we're going to be covering different topics in the next session. This is going to be kind of just a baseline. You can see from the agenda the things that are going to be covered today. Just going to go over the basic sales flow in the new licensing system. So we'll be able to see just some general sales as a resident, as a non-resident, new customers, how to pick up a license, add a license agent, doing reprints, duplicates, voids, etc. We'll show you the bulletins feature. We're going to briefly touch on daily sales reports, ACH reports, which are now known as invoice reports. Again, with the reports, we're just going to briefly touch on those things today. There is another session that we're going to be doing November 9th. And that session will go a little bit deeper into some of the reports and some of the maybe less frequent type of transactions and things of that nature. And then today we'll also show you where to order supplies and brochures. And we'll do that for about an hour, from about 10:30 to 11:30. And then from 11:30 to noon, we'll do a little bit of Q&A. I do have a question in the room. Yes, Devin.
Paul, will there be full training sessions available to our agents later, closer to when the system will be going live?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, Evan. We will be doing some full training sessions. The vendor, Active Outdoors, is going to be doing some basic setup and implementation of the equipment. There are scanners that can scan a driver's license. That's a nice little feature of the new system. So the vendor is going to be going through those as well. And there will also be tutorials at everyone's disposal that people can refer back to at later dates and times as well. So again, if you know someone that wasn't able to make today's session, they will be available on our website. So questions for the Q&A. I want to see here if I can test out the chat. So I'm hoping that the chat is working. I'm just going to send out a test, and let's see. Can someone go ahead and send me a quick chat back just to see? We got good. Awesome. Looks like it's working at least somewhat. So this will be the way that as I'm going through the presentation, submit your questions there. And then what we'll do is during the Q&A session, we'll go back and we'll review those questions in the order that they were received. And then if there's still time and you have a question, feel free to ask it on the phone. And let's see here, what else do I have? Also, any of the questions that we can't answer today, there is going to be a frequently asked questions document that will be published on our website. So you'll be able to go back and refer to that as well. Probably the best place for you all to kind of get used to going is our website, the license agent page. It's got a lot of information on there about the iPaws project. It also has previously recorded webinars that occurred in 2016 that went over the license sales flow and things of that nature. So lots of good information to have at your disposal there. In the event that the system lags, because it was lagging for me earlier today, we're just going to fill that time with Q&A, answering questions. Some things that will be covered in the November webinar, again, a more extensive look at the system, international customers, a deeper dive into reports, setting up users, logins, looking at gift certificates, things of that nature. So essentially in the new system, everybody's going to have their own individual login and PIN number. That way you can tell exactly who is running a specific transaction, and the system will record that and break that information down so that you can see, okay, here's my daily sales report. It looks like John did 15 sales today, Candace did 6, Devin did 973, etc. So you can see that information there. As far as the rollout of the equipment will be sent out in November and December, just in time for the holidays. And then the go-live date is January 4th of 2018. So I will go ahead and get started. Again, the questions that are coming into the chat, keep those coming. During the Q&A session, we're going to handle those at that point in the order that they were received. So without further ado, let's take a look at the system. All right, so I'm going to log out. Can everyone see the system? Move it over here. Just holler at me if you cannot. Otherwise, I'll take silence as compliance. And make sure to unmute if you do have a question, and then put yourself back on mute, please. So this is kind of the opening screen here, if you will. This is a click button system. So you do have to click on here, and then this is where each person will have to enter in their individual login. Okay, and then you'll have the ability to log in as various user roles, either as a manager or as an external agent user. So for the purpose of today's presentation, we're primarily going to be operating under the agent user. This would just be a general sales associate. We're kind of leaving that up to you all, how you want to distinguish who gets the manager privilege and who gets the external agent privilege. There's not a big difference between the two, but there are some differences. So for today, we'll just primarily be in the external agent user. Okay, and then this is the bulletins feature. So we'll probably be using this quite a bit. You can see as soon as you logged into the system, these were some bulletins. These are just going to be quick little ways that we'll be able to communicate information to you all, whether it's a reminder about sending in your surety bond, or various reminders about voids, or making sure that the landowners, or the customers, I should say, fill out the landowner vouchers, various things like that. So it'll be quick ways that when you first log into the system, these are the things that you're going to see, and then you have the ability to just hit OK, and that will take you to the main sales screen. Okay, you can also go back to the bulletin or any of the other bulletins that we have in place, and you can take a look at those at a later date as well. Okay, so the main menu button here gets you back to the main sales screen. I am sure I want to go back there. All right, so we're going to go through just a general sale with an existing customer who's a resident adult. As you can see, there's quite a few buttons on here. I'm going to, again, just kind of stick to the basics this go round, okay? So main sales screen, you select purchase product. It should be pretty intuitive as to kind of, you know, the sales flow. It's pretty basic. Just follow the prompts and everything will be just fine. A couple different ways that you can find a customer. Primarily, the easiest way is with a CID number. So for this particular example, we're going to go that route. There will be situations and times where the customer doesn't have their CID number, so we'll get to that. I'll show you how to find them. But for now, this customer does have his CID, so we're going to enter that in. And then we're going to enter in the date of birth. Okay. And then you do have to use your mouse. You can tab and it'll go down to it, but you can't hit the enter button to access the next button or any of the, they're not executable with the keystrokes there. You have to use the click of your mouse. So we'll hit next. And then this is going to bring up the customer that we just entered in. You can see all their personal information, and there's a button up here to edit if they have a change of address or something like that. Again, I'm going to keep it simple just for the sake of time. And you can see all their information that they have on here. Identifiers, there's their CID number, their driver's license number. The other thing with this system is you can't click and scroll down to get to the information down here. You have to use these arrows. Okay. Here we can just see the various products that they already have on record. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and confirm that this is the right customer. All his information is good to go. We're going to proceed with the sale. We'll hit confirm. Okay. So now what we're doing here is telling the system, it's asking for an identifier. So either by the CID number or by the Colorado driver's license. So we're going to select Colorado driver's license, and then it's going to ask for residency, okay? So we'll hit that he is a resident because he does have a Colorado driver's license number. It's going to want the month and year that he became a resident. So we'll type that information in, and then we'll click OK. At this point, the system is searching background data. It's looking to verify that that driver's license is on file with us, meaning that it is in our system. If it's not in our system, it's going to give a residency error, and I'll show you in the next example what to do in that situation. Okay, so now we've got, for Mr. Cambray, we have the ability to select all the various products that we have. So we're going to start with fishing, and we're going to give him a resident annual fishing license. And we'll just hit add. You can see that it clearly distinguishes the year, because we do get in those situations like in March and April where we kind of have overlap between the previous license year and then the upcoming license year. So that's why we have that broke out like that. This is just telling the customer that if you are purchasing the resident annual along with small game, to remove the annual from your cart and to get a combo. So we'll say, okay, for right now, we're just going to get the fishing annual. It asks if we want the extra rod stamp. We can go ahead and select yes, or check the box, and then okay. Okay. So we can see the two items that were added to the cart. That's going to be the fishing annual and the extra rod stamp. But now, because the new licensing system, which we refer to as iPaws, which is the Integrated Parks and Wildlife System, so because we are integrated with Parks and Wildlife, we can now sell park passes. So we're going to scroll down here, and we're going to select park passes. And the customer states that he wants an annual park pass. So we are going to click add, and you'll notice we have to enter in the vehicle number. This is the the license plate number. So for testing purposes, we're just going to enter in some stuff, and then we're going to hit done. And then now we can see in the cart we have 3 items. Okay? So now we're going to, that's all that the customer wanted. He just wanted his annual fishing license and an annual park pass. So we can either click down here, view cart, and click up here. Okay, and now we can see in the confirm purchase page, we can see that we have the resident annual fishing license, we have the extra rod stamp. All this information does here in green is it's just saying that it's going to use the same document for all of these privileges, for all of these products. So you can pretty much just ignore that, just know that it's there. Essentially, everything is going to print on the same document. That's all that that is referring to. At this point, you do have the ability to remove items, you know, in the event that the customer doesn't have enough money or whatever the case may be. For this one, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the sale. Process sale. And because I'm not hooked up to a printer right now, it's going to give me an error or something like that that says that I'm not hooked up to an error or to a printer. But a white receipt will print, 2 white receipts will print, one for you to keep. And just a reminder that for your white receipts, you are supposed to keep those at your license agent for the current year plus 1. So essentially for 2 years. So with all transactions, 2 white receipts are going to print. One is for you to keep for the current year plus 1. The other one is for the customer. And then you'll have the ability to print the document. And we'll just print the document. And here's where it's going to give me that error. It's just telling me that I'm not set up to the printer. So I will just say OK. And then in this situation, if I was hooked up to the printer, the license would print out with the park pass on it as well. And then you would just hit print successful and then finish sale. For now, I'm just going to keep it as failed because it didn't actually print. But that's pretty much it. So that's the sales flow, just kind of a basic sale there. We're going to move on to another one. This is going to be an existing customer who is a resident adult, but this customer just has a newly issued driver's license or a driver's license that was renewed within the past 6 months. So again, the main sales screen, we're going to go to purchase product. Okay, and we're going to pretend that he does also have his CID number. And the date of birth. Oops. Okay, and then you click down here at next. Again, the customer's information. If there's a change that needs to be made, you just click on edit, and I'll just show you that real fast. And it just goes here, and you can select anything that's in bold is not editable, so you cannot change anything that's in bold like that. But address, things of that nature, you can. Okay, so we're just going to hit save. Okay, again, you'll have to scroll down if you want to see what products they do have on file currently. We'll just hit confirm. Okay, so again, this customer just got their driver's license renewed, okay, so within the past 6 months. So we know that in order for them to qualify as a Colorado resident using their driver's license, that it has to have an issue date of 6 months or more, okay? So this is going to be a customer who just got it renewed, let's say, 2 weeks ago. So we'll select driver's license as his identifier. Actually, nope, let me go back. Apologize. So we'll say confirm. And then we will select CID number. And we'll say that he is resident. And here it's going to want additional proof. Okay? And let me go back again. I want to just show you what it does when you select the driver's license number. Let's see here. So if I select driver's license number and it's just been renewed, let's see, 081952, it's going to give an error. So essentially what we have going on in our system is our system with regard to driver's licenses is going to it's going to reference a file that we receive from the Department of Motor Vehicles. And so that's what it's checking against. It's checking it's validating residency behind the scenes. And so when you get this error, that means either A, the customer just got their driver's license number, so it doesn't have an issue date of 6 months or more. B, it was just renewed, or it doesn't have a issue date of 6 months or more. Or C, that we don't have it in our system. So again, what it's checking is it's checking a file with the DMV, and it's confirming residency behind the scenes. Well, if we don't have the customer's driver's license on record in our database, then it doesn't match up with the file that it's checking at the DMV. So hopefully that makes sense, but it kind of takes some of the guesswork out of it for you, but at the same time we still need to be checking those issue dates and being as diligent as we can with residency. So we're going to say, okay, sir, it looks like your driver's license either isn't on file or it doesn't have 6 months worth of residency. So that's when we can go back. We can confirm his information again. We can select CID number. He is a resident, but now let's say he produces a automobile registration that does show that he's been here at least 6 months. This is what we can use to establish residency for the system. So we would select automobile registration, and we will just throw something in there. And then once we get past this, it's going to take us to the list of products, and then we can proceed from there. So one of the main things that I have to send out non-compliance letters for is for residency, where agents are issuing resident licenses to customers who do not have a driver's license that is 6 months old. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so we're going to add an annual fishing license again. So add the annual fishing license. And we're going to leave the extra rod stamp for now. But again, we are going to add another park pass. Different customer. He wants the annual park pass. We'll add that. We'll put in the license plate number. And we'll hit done. And now we can see there are 2 items. So last time we viewed the cart down here, we hit view cart. We're just going to come up here, do the same thing. And again, you can see that list on the confirm purchase page. It shows the products that we added. It tells you they're all going to print on the document. We're going to process the sale. And we should be good to go. 2 receipts will print. 1 stays with you for the current year plus 1. The other one goes to the customer. Print the document.
Yeah.
The license. We're good. Just a reminder to mute your line if you could, please. We're getting some interference in the background. It's star mute. I'm sorry, star 6. Sorry about that. Star 6 to mute it, and then pound 6 to unmute it. Thanks. Okay, so we'll finish that sale, and we'll move on to another one. Okay, this one is going to be an existing customer who is a non-resident adult. Okay, I'm going to kind of speed through these a little bit just for the sake of time, and just so you can kind of see the sales flow is pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. This is going to be a customer who they have hunted with us or fished with us in the past, so they do have a CID number, but let's say they don't have it. and let's say they don't have their driver's license for us to swipe, or maybe we swipe it and nothing pulls up because we don't have their driver's license number on record. So there is a way that we can find them using the profile search. So you just simply ask the customer their first name. He's going to say last name. His date of birth is, and then the zip code is also something that we're going to need. Devin, did we determine that the zip code is not going to be?
This will look different.
Okay, so this will look a little bit different go live, but primarily these are the features. And you can see the required information that it's looking for with the red asterisks there. Okay, so we've entered in his information. We're going to hit next. Again, this is a customer who does not have their CID number with them, and their driver's license number does not pull up any results. So we can find their information, and then once it pops up on the screen here, you just confirm with the customer, okay, are you customer says yes, you would select. Again, we have the ability to edit their information. And again, as I'm going through this, I'm really just kind of touching on the frequently used portions for right now. This is really just kind of baseline stuff that we're dealing with. So we'll hit confirm. All his information is correct. Okay, and then we're going to select his CID number as the identifier. He is a non-resident. If we were to select resident right here, it would ask for the month and year, and we'd plug that information in there, and it would kick back a residency error. So we know that. So we'll say non-resident. And this customer here, we're going to issue a one-day fishing license, a one-day park pass, and an over-the-counter with cap bear license. So at the moment, not all of our big game products are turned on, but we do have access to bear, so we're just going to use that for example. So we will say bear, and he wants an over-the-counter with cap, so we're going to purchase it. These over-the-counter with cap bear tags do require a hunt code. So if the customer doesn't have it, it's handy to have a current year's big game brochure on hand. Typically, I like to tell the agents that the customer, for the most part, should have this information with them when they come to your counter. When they come to your counter, that should be the time to kind of execute the sale, as opposed to research where they want to hunt and what they should use and this, that, and the other. That's not the time for that. We have numbers that they can call to do their hunt planning prior to purchasing the license. So he knows his hunt code because he is a thorough and prepared hunter. So I'll just plug in the hunt code there, and then you just confirm that choice. And the system right now is searching behind the scenes to make sure there are licenses available, meaning quota, and it looks like there are, so we're going to enter in his hunter ed number and the hunter ed country. Country does have to come first in the sales flow. And we'll say that his hunter ed is from Delaware. And we will select done. And then just a reminder, as far as getting someone's hunter ed verified, the only time and place that they can get their hunter ed verified is at a CPW office, at a Colorado Parks and Wildlife office. By us just entering it in like we did here, it does not verify it to his record. So that means that the customer will have to carry their hunter ed card with them in the field, just a reminder. Okay, so we have his bear tag on file. He also wants a one-day fishing license and then a one-day park pass. And let's see here. Fishing. Okay, it looks like it's not letting me do that right now, so let's try hunting. So let's give him a one-day hunting license, one-day small game hunting license. So while he's out there hunting bear, he wants to hunt rabbit or something like that. So we will say.
I guess because I'm on the phone with the Division of Wildlife.
And just a reminder, if you could mute your line so we don't get the background noise on the recording. Please and thank you. Say OK. And we will select the date that he wants that. And we will say done. Okay. We're going to bypass the daily park pass. I'm being reminded that that is not available on this application here, so that was my apologies. So right now we have 3 items on record for him. So we have the over-the-counter with cap bear license. There's the hunt code plugged in there. There's the date that the license is valid for. And then we have the habitat stamp. We can see at no point in the transaction do we have to put in the habitat stamp. It automatically attaches when it's needed. So that's good for you. It takes the guesswork out of it for you. And if the customer asks anything about it, you can just say it just adds it automatically when and where it's needed. Again, the little note in green you can disregard. It just states that it's all going to print on the same document. We do have a one-day small game license on there, and there is our total down there. And we are now ready to process the sale. And then 2 receipts print, one for you, one for the customer. Print the document, and out comes the license. Okay. All right, so again, if you have questions at the moment, just go ahead and continue to submit those through the chat. We are keeping track of those, so we'll get to those here in about a half hour. We'll start the Q&A process. I'm going to go through a couple of new customers real quick so you can see the sales flow on how to add a new customer. So again, it all starts with purchase product. And this is going to be a non-resident youth. So oftentimes with the resident youth particularly, it can be a little bit tricky as far as tying in the residency to that particular customer. But for this customer here that we're working with, we're going to call them a non-resident youth. Okay, so the scenario would be they come to the counter. Obviously, they don't have a driver's license. They don't have a CID number. They don't have a U.S. driver's license. None of these other options are really necessary for what we're trying to do today. So there's nothing for you to plug in here. So that's where you go to Profile Search. So there is no button that says Add a New Customer. And the reason why is because we're trying to cut down on the number of duplicate records that customers do have. And so essentially, by forcing the search function first, it at least goes through some due diligence there to remove the possibility of creating a duplicate account. Okay, so the person's first name is Joseph, and last name is Mateo. And the date of birth will be 3/16 of, where are we at here, Paul? 2003. And then his zip code is 85705. So we're going to hit next. And you'll know that the customer is not going to come back with anything if this is their first time hunting or fishing in Colorado. If you ask the question, have you ever had a hunting or fishing license in Colorado, and their answer is no, more than likely they're going to be a new customer. So it says a matching customer is not found. Would you like to create a new customer profile for this customer? So we would say yes, or we would say okay. So we're going to go with individual. I wouldn't worry about this. I haven't had to really use this just yet. So for the purpose of
that will be utilized once registrations goes live, just so everyone knows why that's there.
Cool. Thanks, Devin. So for today, he is an individual. And then this is where you can enter in the customer's information, okay? So we're going to enter in a phone number. And we're going to enter in an address, 400 North 2nd Avenue. And we're going to call that Tucson, Arizona. Okay, now you notice what I'm doing here is I've used my tab button to navigate from field to field. And I'm going to click back over here to state. But I cannot actually type anything in here until I go to country. It's a little bit different from what we have been using in the past, but it is what it is. It's taken me a little bit to get used to as well. So you have to select country first, and then that tells this field, okay, we're dealing with United States. If you click on that field, now Arizona comes right up. And this validate button, if you click that, essentially all that does is that just fills in the rest of the information, as little as it might be, the zip code or what have you. But it's checking against another reputable source, whether it's the U.S. Post Office or some other reputable source for addresses. This is to help decrease the amount of incorrect addresses that we have in the system as well. So that's why it is a little bit kind of strict and a little bit different than we currently have. So identifiers, he doesn't have any other type of identifier. The system on a new customer is going to automatically create a CID number for him, so we can leave that blank for now. We'll fill out the rest of this. He is male. We will call him 5'5" and 120 pounds. Eye color. We have all sorts of stuff. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the Christmas Story, but there was that character named Scott Farkas who had yellow eyes. So we're going to go with that. This is the giving permission for Colorado Parks and Wildlife to release certain information. It's up to the customer. I always just say decline. The social, they are a U.S. citizen. Okay, so we're going to plug in a fictitious social security number. And we're going to hit save. And it didn't like how fictitious it was, so we're going to try another one. And it doesn't like that either.
It needs to be 9 digits.
You have one too many.
Oh, do I have one too many? Oh, I was trying too hard. There we go. All right, so again, this is a new customer. This is a non-resident youth. We are going to sell them a small game annual license. So the system is just putting this information where it needs to go behind the scenes. It's probably concerned that this person has yellow eyes. Okay. So while this is lagging, I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these questions that has come through the chat. The first one is from Sheila Oliver Cole. Will there be training sessions we will be able to attend where we are walked through how iPaws sales works, because we have to teach our temp employees too? There won't be anything super formal like that, but we are putting together some plans on how we can reach out to licensed agents and stop in. Did you have something to add, Devin?
Well, the vendor will be providing training, and the training will come in the form of brain sharks, which are videos that are available online that you can watch again and again and again. You can have your temp employees watch, anybody who needs to get to know the system. There's also very, very thorough user manuals that are available, so that if the brain shark doesn't cover something, you use the user manual. So there are other things like that. As Paul was saying, there will not be in-person trainings because it's going to be more conducive to you learning the system if you're there with your system and actually doing, and that's the purpose of the brain sharks, is so you can watch and do at the same time.
Yep. Good question, though. Thanks, Sheila.
And just so everyone knows, you will, with those brain sharks, those will be available once the systems are sent out, and before you receive your login, you will actually have to complete those trainings.
Yep. And also, feel free to reference this recording as well. As I said, this will be available on our website for future reference also. I know it's a lot, it's kind of time consuming, but with 700 plus agents, well, actually more now that we've inherited park agents, it's a little bit difficult to kind of get to everybody, but it is what it is. Okay, so we have created the customer's information. The system, like I said, automatically generated the CID number, so we're just going to select that. This is a non-resident youth. And again, we're going to sell them a small game annual license. So we will go to, and we will go to youth small game annual. We will add that. We'll plug in their Hunter Ed information. Again, this does not verify to their record, so they will need to take this card with them out into the field. And we will say done. Okay, so we have one item in the cart. We can either click up here or we can click down here, view cart. We want it to print immediately, obviously. So we'll process this sale. 2 receipts print out. One for you, one for the customer. Print the document, and all is well. Okay, and then real quick, I just want to run through the resident youth who is a new customer. So this is the first license that they're getting with us. So again, it all starts with purchase product. And so at the moment, you know, you're asking them, hey, do you have a CID? No, they don't have a driver's license or any of that information. You know, their response is, or you can even ask the additional question, have you ever had a hunting or fishing license in Colorado before? If their answer is no, then that tells you to go to the profile search, because again, all of these have to run through some type of search first, and the reason why is because we want to avoid duplicate customer records. So this is young Tommy Sprinkles, 2001, and 80232. Okay, so we'll say next. So it says there's nothing matching, and then would you like to create a new customer profile, and we will say okay. This is an individual. Okay, and the phone number we'll plug in there, and we'll say 1276 South Drew Way, and that is going to be in Lakewood. And again, I can't enter anything in here until I have gone to the country first. So I'm going to say United States. I'll come back over here. Once I click in it, the box automatically comes up for states. And then if I validate the address, essentially it just checks it and verifies that it is a good, accurate address. Okay, this is a male. He is 5'2", weighing in at 110 pounds. Eye color, we'll just go regular brown. Decline giving permission for the release of information. This person is a U.S. citizen, so we'll say yes. And they do have a social. And we'll hit save. And that is a fictitious social security number. Okay, and so for this customer, we're going to just give them a simple one-day small game license. Let's see here. So I'm going to take a question from Sydney in the chat. Will this new system integrate OHV and snowmobile registrations?
Yes, but not for not until 2018, later in the year.
Okay. So Sydney, hopefully you got that. The answer is yes, but this will be what we call post-go live. So go live is January 4th. So don't expect the OHV and snowmobile registration integration proclamation to occur on January 4th, 2018. It will be sometime later in 2018. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so new customer, the system automatically generates them a CID number. So we will go ahead and hit select. So we're going to use that. This person is a resident. Okay, so we're going to select here. So now we can see the options that appear. And for issuing a resident youth resident license, primarily you're going to use the parent or guardian is a resident. And Devin, do you know if there's any plans to expand the view of this information? Because right now it just says DL. Okay. So you can see here it says DL. That stands for driver's license. This MI is going to be for military information. So if the customer is a military dependent, that's where you would plug in the parent's military ID, their order dates, etc. For the purpose of this exercise, we're just going to keep it simple. So a parent or guardian is a resident. We're going to use the parent or guardian's driver's license. So the month and year that the parent started living in Colorado. Let's see here, 030.
Well, it's when the youth.
Is it when the youth?
It's the youth.
Okay.
It's always the person for whom you're purchasing the product.
Gotcha.
So if you try to enter a residency sense prior to the date of birth, you will get an error.
Yes, that makes sense. So that's what I had lined up here. So I will take that out, and we'll just throw in a date after the customer's date of birth. So good point, Devin. Thanks for the clarification. The month and year residency sense is tied to the individual, and then this information here is tied to the parent. So we'll say OK.
And that's the same as it is in the current system. So
yes. Okay, so we're going to give them a small game, 1-day small game hunting license. So we'll scroll down, and I'm not seeing my 1-day licenses on here even. I'm guessing because for youth.
Good manager, Dan.
Makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and just give them the youth small game annual. And I'm guessing because the price difference for a
it makes no sense to get a 1-day when the price is.
Because a 1-day is $9, and then a youth small game is $1.75. So that's probably why.
Yes, that's why it's not available.
Things I learned at training.
I get password up and back up.
Okay. And then we'll plug in the Hunter Ed information. Selecting the country, and then selecting state. And we'll say done. And then click up here. That takes us to the cart where we can finish the sale. And just a reminder to mute your line, just because we don't want to get any background noise or interference on the recording. Thank you. Document. Okay, so we'll finish the sale. All right, so that was 5 sales that we went through. We kind of took our time and discussed a few things here and there, but generally you can see we interacted with most of the same buttons for each customer, for each transaction. So I just wanted to show you that because, you know, getting a new system with a few new bells and whistles, it can look a little bit daunting and a little bit overwhelming. But I just wanted to show that just because we have all of these options at our disposal doesn't mean that we will be using them on a regular basis. Some of them you might not use at all. Some of them you might use once every now and again. But for the purpose of today's presentation, just wanted to show you a few consecutive transactions. So now we're going to move on to what's called pickup at agent. So this would be a situation where the customer goes onto the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website. And again, this type of practice, this type of transaction exists in the current system today. We've been getting a lot of calls from agents or customers saying that the new licensing system is just going to be online and that agents won't be able to actually issue transactions or run transactions from scratch. So obviously we've seen that's not true, but the customer does have the ability to go onto the website, and then instead of having the license mailed to them, they can select the option that says pick up at agent. And the customer is then given a transaction number, and that transaction number is what they should be bringing to you, and then you plug in the transaction number and just simply print out the transaction for them. So here's how that is done. So the customer walks up and says, yeah, I purchased one online and I need to get it printed. So you would come down here to pick up license. The customer gives you the transaction number or the order number. The new licensing system has a little bit different language, but it all kind of refers to the same thing. The new transaction numbers are now referred to as order numbers, and their format is a little bit different in that there is a dash in the ones that we've been using. So the transaction number or the order number is going to be 8-2730. So you would just hit search, and then it's going to pull up that actual product that the customer purchased online by themselves, and all you need to do is just simply hit print. When you hit print, it's going to take you to that screen that shows you that we go to at the end of the transactions, where it gives you the option to actually print it. But since we're not hooked up to a printer, we got that error. So that's all there is to that. That's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. From here, I can go back to the main menu. Yes, I'm sure I want to do that. So again, real simple. If they purchase it online, you just click pick up license, you get their order number, you hit search, it pulls up, you hit print, out it comes. Pretty simple. So that's how that works. Duplicates. So the difference between a duplicate license and a reprint of a license. A duplicate license is going to be a situation where the customer purchased a license one day, and then at a later date, a few days later, a few weeks later, months later, whatever the case may be, they lost it. They need to get it replaced. So that would be a duplicate license. A reprint of a license is something that is done at the time of the transaction. So for instance, a reprint would be if a license, you're issuing a license and let's say the printer jams and nothing actually prints from the machine. So you open up the hatch and you realign the paper, you hit reprint, and it's going to print that transaction, okay? So again, duplicate, days have gone by, a period of time has gone by, and the customer lost their license. A reprint is at the time of the transaction, okay? So we're going to start with a duplicate license, meaning the customer lost their license. So again, we can see there's no option on here that says duplicate or anything like that. There is one for reprint, but we'll get to that in a second. So for duplicate, because there is a cost associated with duplicating licenses, there is a duplicate license fee, we want to purchase a product. So another thing to keep in mind. We're going to hit purchase, and then the customer in this situation is going to have their CID number. If they don't, we've seen examples of how to pull them up and how to handle those. 499, and his date of birth is going to be 6/8. 983, and we will say next. And then you would just confirm the customer's information. Again, you have the ability to edit their information if need be. And they can, let's say that they lost their resident fishing annual. Okay, so we would just hit confirm, because this is, again, just confirming the confirmation page. Let's see, let's hit select on his driver's license and see what we got. Resident since, let's see, 061983, keep doing that. Okay. So the system is searching behind the scenes just to make sure that we have his driver's license number in our database, his driver's license number on record. It's also confirming with the driver's license file to make sure that it matches up with residency. So it looks like he's good to go there. So then we can see duplicate the product. So we'll click that. And then again, it lists all the products that are available to be duplicated. So he wanted the resident fishing annual. So we would select that. Now typically in this situation, if they want their resident fishing annual license duplicated, chances are they're also going to want their extra rod stamp. The habitat stamp takes care of itself, but for right now we'll go ahead and select that as well, just in case. But the extra rod stamp we'll throw in there as well. Let's say that he took the park pass off and he's got it attached to his vehicle, so he's good with that. So we will say view the cart up there, and then we can see the cost associated with those products. So we can see $5 for the replacement, and it's telling us they're all going to print on the same document. We will process sale, and it's just that easy. Okay? So now we will move on to reprints. So again, the difference, a duplicate means they lost it, some time has gone by and they need to get a new one. A reprint means that at the time of the transaction, something went wrong. So let's see if it'll let us do it. So let's say that the customer came in and they purchased a license and nothing printed from the machine, or maybe it didn't print the right way or something like that, that we have to do a reprint. In the current system, there is a 10-minute window that you have to do a reprint before the system won't allow you to do a reprint. So in that situation, if the system will not let you, if 10 minutes has gone by or it just comes up with a message that says it's not, that you're not allowed to do the reprint, you just have to give us a call. And then typically what we do is we'll either void the transaction or reverse it, just depending, and then that wipes the slate clean for the customer. But for this situation, we will select Mr. Gallegos, and we will reprint his transaction. And here are the reasons why we would reprint it. Faulty ribbon, that's just the printing mechanism, or paper jam. We'll just say paper jam, and then when I'm doing my tests, I just put test in there. We'll say okay. It says you don't have a printer set up. That won't happen for you, and you'll be good to go. Okay? So let's quickly look at voids. We've got about 1 minute left to look at voids. So again, in the current system, there is a 10-minute rule in place for voids. So after 10 minutes, you won't be able to void that transaction yourself. You'll either have to give us a call at Parks and Wildlife, and then we void it on our end. If it's after 5 o'clock or on Saturday or Sunday, then you call the agent help desk, and they can void those licenses for you. So let's say it's normal business hours and it's within 10 minutes and you want to void the transaction yourself. You would just come here to void transaction. Excuse me. So a scenario where you would void a license would be maybe the customer says they don't want it after all. They look at it, maybe it's got the wrong customer information on it. Maybe it's for the wrong season, the wrong hunt code. Maybe they don't have enough money, they left their wallet at home, something like that. That's when you would void it. Okay, let's see here. So typically what will happen is it will show you, it says transactions available for voiding, okay? So again, it takes some of the guesswork out of it for you, just like it does in the current system. It's not going to let you void something that it's not authorized to void, okay? In that scenario, we just select the one that we want to void, and we would hit the void button. It wants to know the reason why. Payment not received after printing, we'll call it that. Say the customer they realized they left their wallet at home. Just throw that in there and hit OK, and there you go. Unexpected runtime exception caught. I don't know what that means. That's literally the first time I've seen that. So we'll just say that for the purpose of this exercise, time had expired, like right during the transaction or right before or something like that. This would be a situation where you would call us. If it's during normal business hours, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, you would give us a call, and then we would void it on our end, and then that would be that. So that's pretty much the presentation. We are going to go through here and get caught up on our messages from the chat and try to answer questions, any questions that have been asked at that point. So we're going to start here with David Richardson. The question is, are Social Security numbers required, optional, etc.? So good question. Social Security numbers are required for any customer who is of the age of 12 years old or older. This is a federal regulation from the Department of Child Support Enforcement, and essentially this is to crack down on individuals who are delinquent on their child support. Why is it at 12 years old, you might ask? Well, because it has happened. So I don't know of any 12-year-old personally that has happened to, but somewhere in the annals of history, they had to make the cutoff at 12 years old. So essentially, yes, David, it is required for any customer that we don't already have it for. So if the customer has had a previous license with us, 9 times out of 10, we already have their Social Security number on record, and the system will prompt if it needs it. So again, the system does a pretty good job of filtering that information and prompting when it's needed and what's needed, etc. Excuse me. Okay, so the next question comes from Cole Graham. What is the non-individual button for? Devin answered that earlier, and it was for...
once registration goes live, that will be utilized.
Perfect. So again, a lot of these questions that you guys are asking are helping us build our FAQ that we're putting onto the website. So please continue to ask good questions like this. And anything, again, that we can't answer now, we will take back and throw it on that FAQ that will be posted on our website. So that is for registrations, Cole. Christy Foy. Hey, Christy. So the question is, if they have their CID number, do we have to verify their DL? In as much as you have to verify residency on it.
And yes. Identity.
And identity, yeah, for sure. So the good thing about the Colorado driver's license is that you still need to be looking at secure and verifiable documentation and residency. So the good thing about Colorado driver's license is that it satisfies both of those requirements. So it shows their picture, so it proves identity. It is a secure and verifiable document. And it also satisfies residency when that driver's license has an issue date of 6 months or more. So with regard to interacting with it in the system and selecting it as an identifier, In that situation, you can use the CID number, but it's still going to want to know residency. So for instance, if I select CID number, it's going to ask for a residency document anyway. So hopefully that makes sense. But if not, give me a call or give us a call and we can walk you through a little bit more. But for the sake of time, we will move on. Okay. Let's see here. Sheila, thanks for the previous answer about the training. Second question.
She is internal.
Oh, okay.
Sheila, this calls for external agents. If you have questions about how we're going to be training CPW staff, that will be answered at a later question, as well as questions about vehicle registrations and all of those things will be answered at internally later. So this, again, this call, as Paul sent out by email, was for external agents only.
All right, so we got one from Brenda Cooper. Let's see, what if they are in your system under a different zip code when you search in the database? Will it show them at a different address? So that's a good question. I was wondering, Devin, about the search, the mandatory search criteria on the profile search.
It's going to be different.
So the zip code won't be mandatory.
It will be different.
Okay. So, Brenda, to answer your question, it will be a little bit different. We're working towards removing the zip code being one of the mandatory criteria for searching. However, a good rule of thumb is if you ask them, do you have you ever had a hunting or fishing license in Colorado before? And so you're using that search criteria and you enter in a zip code and nothing pulls up. Oftentimes people move, and so they could be giving you their current zip code, not knowing that the profile that we have in the system has their old address on there. So you might have to ask a follow-up question like, have you recently moved? Could there be another zip code or something like that? But the hope is that once we get to go live, that will be a non-issue. Good question. Let's see here. Taylor Goff. So the question is, what if you have a customer that has a verified hunter safety? Is there a button that you can push, or do you have to enter it again? There should be.
It will never even ask for it.
Okay, perfect.
It just cruises on through. If it's verified or if they don't need the hunter ed in any way, it just doesn't even wince.
Awesome. So it takes the guesswork out of it for you, Taylor. So that might be something that will take a little bit of getting used to, because it's been such a point of emphasis in the current system, is that button, you know, the Colorado verified button, So it might take a little bit of getting used to, but it looks like it takes the guesswork out of it for you, and that the system will prompt for the information that it needs. So you can kind of rest assured that, hey, if the system didn't ask me for a social, it must not need it. If the system didn't ask me for the habitat stamp, it must not need it. If the system didn't ask me for hunter ed, it must not need it. So that's a good question, and I appreciate you asking it, because it is something that we'll have to train the agents on, because it'll be something that they're not used to seeing. So thanks for asking that. All right, Christy. Let's see here. Christy asks, will we have access to a training site to run test transactions like you are doing? There will be a training mode that will be in the production release. So kind of like what you have on the current licensing machine, you can put it into training mode and you can run test transactions. We also have our test CID number, which is our John Q test customer. and that CID number is 9999-12348. So again, you can run that customer and you will not be charged any transaction fees or anything like that, whether you're in training mode or not in training mode. If you use that test customer CID number, you can test till the cows come home. So again, that transaction or that test CID number is 9999-12348. The date of birth to use on that is something that I can't remember. So we'll throw that into the FAQ. But good question. Thanks for asking. Okay. And is there a, let's see, Comma asks, is there a training option on the new system? Yes, there is. See the previous answer. So, but yes, there will be a training option. Like I said, with the production release, there will be the ability to go into training mode. So, that is all the questions we have received in the chat. Does anybody have a question on the phone? We'll try to do this as orderly as possible without, you know, everyone asking all at once, but we'll do our best. If anyone has a question on the phone, fire away.
Yeah, I have a question. On the duplicates, are they going to have to fill out the white forms like they do now?
Yes, good question. Who was that?
Chris from Walmart in Sterling, Colorado.
Hey, Chris, thanks for asking. So, yes, there will still be the affidavit process. So, and that's a good question. Duplicates, when you do a duplicate license, will produce a duplicate license affidavit. When you issue a gift license, so you issue a license as a gift for someone else is buying it for someone else, there will be a gift affidavit that prints out using the white receipt tape. Let's see here, there's another one too, the senior low-income lifetime license has an affidavit. So yes, it'll work just like it does in the current system, and all those affidavits will print out. So hope that answers the question. I do have a question that just came in from the chat, from Julia. Is there going to be a separate training for the park passes? No, because we covered park passes in this. I don't know if you were joining late, Julia, or if I lulled you to sleep, but we did cover park passes in here. With regard to park passes, gotcha, I was just going there. Thanks, Julia. Her question is in regards to rules to selling park passes. There will be the license agent manual that is going to cover all the rules surrounding park passes. So if there's any kind of residency rules, you know, if there's any certain limit or number of park passes that a person can have, if they have one park pass, can they get another one, et cetera, et cetera. So there is going to be some training information via the license agent manual, and so that will be coming out soon. And it'll be training for us as well, because this is obviously the first time that, you know, we've had to instruct people on how to sell park passes too, and so we're all going to be learning together. So we will just rely on those who have a little bit more experience with the park passes, and we'll do our best to put out good information for you. So thanks for asking, Julia. Let's see here. I do have a couple more that came in via the chat. So is there just one machine for white receipts and also the actual license? Okay, good question. So there are two separate printers. So this kind of leads into a bigger discussion or question regarding the physical footprint that the machine is going to leave at your business. It is going to be a little bit bigger. It's basically the full-size monitor, a keyboard, a little CPU, and then there are going to be 2 printers, one for the white receipt tape and one for the blue license paper. So those will be separate. So good question. Hope that answers your question there, Cole.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. Who's this?
This is Lon from Clark's Hardware in Lyons, Colorado.
Hey, Lon. Yes, sir.
All right, is it going to run off a phone line, or is it going to have DSL also?
It's going to be DSL, so it will not be the old school analog phone line, thank goodness.
I don't know if that, I didn't think that was covered, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It'll be faster.
It will be faster, and it will be what virtually everybody is using nowadays anyway, as opposed to all of the downloading issues that we've been experiencing with the old school analog phone lines, and it's just kind of obsolete technology. So, yes, we will finally be moving into the 21st century.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Lon. All right, going back to the chat, we've got about 15 minutes left, so we'll do our best to answer these questions here. Brenda Cooper, what is the new equipment going to be like, a computer or a small machine like we have now? So I hope that I answered that for you. Again, the monitor and the 2 printers and the keyboard. There's also a scanning mechanism, a swiping mechanism that you can put to the side of the monitor. It actually will affix or attach to the side of the monitor. And then there's also a little scanning gun, too, that you can scan driver's licenses as well. Most of that information will be covered through the training with Active Outdoors, who is the vendor who's providing the equipment. Let's see here.
Are there any thoughts of making this into a self-service operation with just the printer being accessible by the merchant?
There was some discussion of that early on. Unfortunately, it's not cost effective.
That answer your question?
Wouldn't it be the same exact system, just them inputting the information?
But a kiosk is a pricey item to make it serviceable for a customer. And so that was unfortunately outside of our price range and not supported.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see. Julia asked, just state parks or county parks? Okay, good question. So it is going to be state parks only. Since we are a state agency, we're only issuing state park passes. So there are some parks, I know, like for instance, Bear Creek Lake State Park or maybe Quincy Reservoir, that are owned by separate entities, whether it's a city entity or a county or something like that. National parks, we don't service those. So Rocky Mountain National Park, the Sand Dunes, Black Canyon National Park, thank you. Dinosaur National Park. If it has National Park in it,
or National Monument,
it does not belong to us. So just the states. So, and a good place to find which locations we deal with is going to be on our website. So there are a couple of items on the agenda that I didn't get a chance to cover. One of those is where to find brochures and ordering brochures. So we'll cover that in the November webinar as well. But that will kind of give you some information on there. There's a brochure that you can order that actually lists out all of the parks that we service, that we own, maintain, etc. Okay, so one question here from Ken Vickers. Hey, Ken. Will agents have the same number of terminals that they have now? And will leftover licenses be sold through product quick sale screen or purchase product screen? Okay, so good questions there. We do have it set up to receive the same number of terminals that you currently have now. So if you currently have 2, you will be getting 2 terminals on the way. And then leftover license sales be sold through the product quick sale screen or the purchase product screen. I haven't used the product quick sales screen very much, and looking around the room here, no one else really has.
It would be purchase products, though, because it has to conform to all the business rules. Product quick sale would be something that doesn't have the business rules that a hunting or a fishing license would have. Say it would be a, I don't know, something like an annual parks pass, something like that can be sold to anybody without having to have hunter ed or any of that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So since the hunting licenses have so many business rules that are dependent on who that person is, whether it's their residency, whether it's their age, whether it's their hunter ed, whether it's what other licenses they already may have on file, et cetera, then it doesn't work. The product quick sell feature doesn't work for them. So we're at a place right now where we're still doing some testing in the system, and the big game products haven't fully come online for us to test just yet, but so we're still working through some of this, but hopefully by November's training we can have a little bit more information with regard to big game sales. So yeah, leftover licenses will be sold through the product purchase screen. And a very good question, Ken, thank you. Let's see here. If they want just a pass for Jumbo Lake, is that under park passes, or how do they get those?
The SWA permit.
So that's going to be the state wildlife area permit. So for Jumbo Lake,
it'd be under purchase product.
Purchase product.
And that purchase park passes button is likely going to go away. It's going to all be under purchase product. It's just, again, we're in the middle of testing, and there are some things that still are appearing that shouldn't be.
Okay. Good question there. Chris from Mountain Angler. Hey, Chris. Chris writes, when should we plan on receiving these new terminal replacements? That's a good question. The new equipment is, it's going to be a rollout process, obviously, with roughly 1,000 licensed agents. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to be sometime either in November, December. I know that's super vague and kind of right around the corner, but they're doing it in waves. So you can expect it sometime in November or December. Again, go live is January 4th, 2018. So we have just a little over 5 minutes left. And let's see here. I don't have any other questions coming in the chat. Is there anyone on the phone that has a question?
This is Chris from Walmart. When they do bring new machines out, are we still going to be able to sell licenses for like that day, or you know, are we just going to have to tell the customers, you know, sorry?
So there will still be opportunity to sell licenses through the current system up until January 4th, or is it January 3rd where sales stop?
No, it's going to be on the 2nd.
January 2nd.
It's down the 2nd through the 3rd, so we go live the 4th, the morning of the 4th.
Okay, so that's a good question. So January 2nd through the 3rd, there will be no sales. And that is typically a slower, quote, period of time, particularly for the hunting and fishing licenses. And so, you know, there's really not going to be an ideal time for everyone. You know, someone is always going to be busy within the agency. That is, someone is always going to be busy at some point in time, and so we had to just kind of do the best we could to, you know, to limit the amount of downtime that we had and the impact that it would have on the customers. So from January 2nd to January 3rd, no license sales, and then that will give time to get things hooked up with the new license machines for go live on January 4. One question popped in here from Julia. How will the new terminal connect to the internet? Is it Wi-Fi or need the Ethernet jack at the station? The new licensed machines do not operate on Wi-Fi, so there does have to be some type of hardline connection, so Ethernet jack or I'm not a super tech person, but I can tell you that it does have to be plugged into something. Okay, we got about 3 minutes left. Any other questions on the phone or on the chat? I'm seeing that people are leaving the meeting, so if there are any other questions, you can feel free to email me directly. Again, my email address, I'm going to put that on the agenda here so people can actually see it. But it's paul.wolf@state.co.us, and that should be a lowercase p. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I can get back to you on those. Other than that, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Within the next few days. Yeah, question?
Yeah, this is Chris from Walmart again. The daily reports and the weekly report that we have to turn off now, will we still have to do that after it goes live, or is that something different?
Yeah, you'll still have the ability to do that. I ran out of time in the presentation, so I was not able to get to the reports or the ordering of supplies and brochures, but we do have another training set up on November 9th, so we will cover that. That will be more focused on things like that as opposed to how to do transactions. Today's was a little more focused on the transactions, but yes, you will have daily sales reports. You can view previous days. Basically, a calendar drops down. You select the day that you want to view the sales reports for. You can see the weekly reports, the weekly totals, the amounts that are going to be swept, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, we will definitely take a deep dive. That'll probably be topic number 1 that we discuss at the November meeting. Okay. So with that, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and close it out, and appreciate everyone's time, and we'll look forward to hearing from you and working with you in the future. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Paul.
You bet.